y'all! So this is a totally unplanned video, but I just recorded a video for my other channel, Lil Rat Riding Hood, which is my music channel, and I figured that while I'm here and I got my makeup on, I would just record a video for booktube as well. Today I'm going to go through all the books that I marked as did not finish this year. I keep track of the books I DNF'd on Storygraph because it's sort of similar to Goodreads because it lets you track the stuff you've been reading, but it actually lets you mark books as did not finish, and you can put in how much of the book you've read and also add an explanation for why you stopped, which I've done for most of the books here. So I'm just gonna go through them. The first book on my list is Stay With My Heart. I was really excited for this because I read other books by the same author. I read Counting Down With You and A Show for Two, and I really liked Counting Down With You. A Show for Two I liked a little less, but I was excited for Stay With My Heart because it's related to music more, so I thought that was really interesting. It's about a girl whose father works in the music industry and she accidentally sabotages a band, and so she makes it her goal to help them succeed. I got 23% into the book, but the reason why I stopped was because I got a little past the part where she sabotages the band, and I'm like, you can easily fix this by just telling the truth, but instead she just wants to lie and try to fix it in her own way, and I was just really bothered by that. And I understand that she's in a situation where it's very hard to tell the truth because she doesn't want to admit her mistake to her dad, but I'm also like, I feel like he's gonna find out anyway, and I don't usually like stories when I'm just waiting for the main character's secret to come out. I feel like if you're okay with that, you might enjoy it, but I just felt like it wasn't for me. The next book I DNF'd was The Dawn of Young Chen, which is a prequel novel to Avatar: The Last Airbender. So I actually really like the other prequel novels I've read. I've read the two Kyoshi novels. I especially liked The Rise of Kyoshi. And I also recently read The Reckoning of Roku, which I also really liked. But The Dawn of Young Chen, I was just not as interested in. I did read less than 100 pages of the book, but I just felt like I could better spend my time on something else, honestly. I feel like one of the reasons why I did not like this as much was because Yang Chen is sort of not as relevant to the show. She's sort of further back in the history. And also I just was not as interested in her or the story. It just wasn't really pulling me in. The next book I DNF'd was An Education in Malice, which I was very excited for because it's dark academia in Massachusetts. And there's vampires, and they're supposed to be rivals to lovers, and I was like, this is gonna be great. Reading a vampire book again like I did in my youth with Vampire Academy and Twilight, it's gonna be great. But yeah, I did not like this one. I got 25% into the book. I did not like the writing style. I don't usually mind a lot of telling over showing, but I think in this book it just was not convincing enough for me. I felt like everything was just too surface level. The romance also did not really appeal to me. I was expecting this intense academic rivals to lovers story, but I feel like they just had a crush on each other from the beginning, and even though they annoy each other, it's like the book kind of focuses more on the attraction they have toward each other since the beginning. I kind of wanted something where they just like hate each other's guts and they can't stand the sight of each other, and then later on they're attracted to each other, but this just was not it for me. But I know some people really like it. My sister actually recently read it and loved it, and now I get to give her my signed copy. The next book I DNF'd was The Death I Gave Him. Honestly, part of the reason I was excited to read it was because of the cover. I think the colors are just so appealing, and then the inside of the cover is also like bright neon pink, and I'm just like, oh, it looks so nice. I was also drawn in by the fact that it's this locked room thriller murder mystery with queer representation, but I just was not that interested. I got 44% into the book, and I did think the writing was very beautiful. It was very eloquent prose, but I did not care about the characters. I just thought they were boring, so I did not want to go on. Okay, the next book is very popular, and I was also excited for this because the author is Filipino, and it's another enemies to lovers book. But yeah, did not want to finish it. And that book was The Hurricane Wars. So I got 41% into this. I felt like there was just excessive description and world building. I can appreciate an interesting world, but I prefer to learn more about the world through character interaction rather than just like long paragraphs of explanation. I also felt like the development of the romance was kind of weird. The guy just went from wanting to kill her to low-key pining for her, and I just felt like it was a very unrealistic development. So yeah, DNF. The next one was another fantasy by a Filipino author, so it's kind of upsetting that I had to DNF it. But what happened was I got 10% into the book, and then I decided to look at the reviews because I just wanted to know if it got more interesting later, and then I got spoiled. There was a review that was just full of spoilers, and I did reach out to support and they blocked out all the spoilers, but you know, damage was done. Honestly, one of the things that kept me going was the mystery around something that happened to the main character, but it wasn't there to keep me going anymore. I might read another book by that same author because I know the next upcoming book is Lovely, Dark, and Deep, and it's a dark academia book about a Filipino-American girl, so that seems pretty interesting. Okay, the next book is Five Broken Blades. I had high hopes for this one, so I was very disappointed. I did think the beginning was compelling, but I feel like the book had too many points of views to the point where it got very repetitive because the characters are traveling in pairs, and so sometimes you'll get something from one character's internal monologue, but then you later get the point of view of the person they're traveling with, and then you find out about that thing again because the other character is telling it to them. I also didn't expect romance to be so prevalent in this book, but there's actually, I think, supposed to be romance between each of the pairs, but I just didn't care for any of the pairings. Okay, so the most recent book that I DNF'd was Bury Your Gaze by Chuck Tingle. I was really excited for this one because it was my first Chuck Tingle book, and I just think he seems like an interesting person, but I just was not enjoying reading this book. I stopped at 26%. I actually went to an event that he had on his book tour for this, and one of the things he mentioned was that he writes message first. So instead of prioritizing story or character, he focuses on the message. And I think I could really see that in his writing, but that's not really the type of writing I like because I prefer a focus on characterization. And since I didn't care about the main character, I didn't care about the scary things happening to him, so I just was not invested in the story at all. So I thought it was just very clear that the book was not for me. So yeah, those are all the books I decided to drop this year. Honestly, I don't really hesitate much to DNF books because I feel like if I force myself to get through a book even though I know I won't like it, it's just going to put me in a reading slump because I'm just not gonna want to read because I know I have to read this book that I don't like. I'm a lot more willing to DNF books than I used to be because now I just have a lot less free time, and so I need to really value my time, and if I don't think a book is going to be a good time investment, then I need to just move on to the next one. I hope you didn't find this video too negative. I'm not saying that all of these books are bad and not worth reading, but I do think that it can be helpful to hear people's thoughts on why they didn't like a book, so it's good to know going in. I'm not saying don't read these books. I'm just giving my perspective on why they were not for me. So yeah, I hope this was helpful or interesting to you somehow. And yeah, thanks for watching. Bye.